A man lying on the sand, alone, still, eyes closed. Around him, darkness. Not night, ash. The sea is impossible. Waves churning, directionless. A few kilometers away, a city of 20,000 people is disappearing under meters of ash and pumice. He doesn't know this. He can't know this. Because Pliny the Elder, the wisest man in the Roman world, is already dead. And he died without understanding what killed him. If stories of power and glory and collapse are your thing, welcome to AfterThrone. Subscribe. The man who catalogued the world, Gaius Plinius Secundus, was 56 years old, admiral of the Roman fleet at Misenum, imperial official, statesman. But before any of that, a scholar. A scholar the Roman world had never seen before. He slept little. He ate while reading. He traveled by litter to make use of the time. Someone read aloud while he took notes. His nephew, Pliny the Younger, recorded all of this later with a mixture of admiration and disbelief. His uncle never wasted a minute. The result of that effort was the Naturalis Historia, 37 volumes, 20,000 facts about the natural world, minerals, animals, plants, climate phenomena, the greatest encyclopedia of antiquity. For Pliny, knowing nature meant controlling it. Understanding a phenomenon meant no longer fearing it. There was nothing in the world that could not be observed, catalogued, understood. That belief was not arrogance. It was a lifetime of results. It worked for everything. Until that August afternoon. The city that should have learned. In 79 AD, the Roman Empire was at its peak. Prosperous cities, perfect roads, undefeated armies, and on the coast of Campania, south of Rome, a region of wealthy towns, quiet beaches, aristocratic estates, Vesuvius stood there, as it always had, a mountain, tall, green, silent. Centuries without an eruption, so quiet that locals planted vineyards on its slopes. They harvested grapes, made wine, lived. No one feared that mountain, because no one had a reason to. But Pompeii was not a naive city. The region had already given a warning 17 years earlier. In 62 AD, a devastating earthquake had shaken the entire region. Buildings collapsed, statues fell, the aqueduct that supplied the city cracked. Seneca, the philosopher, wrote about the event with astonishment. He described entire flocks of sheep killed by gas released from the ground, men driven mad with terror, an entire city in collapse. Pompeii spent 17 years rebuilding. In 79, the work was still underway. Scaffolding on temples, freshly plastered walls, half-finished mosaics. But no one, not the residents, not the philosophers, not the scholars, connected that earthquake to Vesuvius. Why? Because an earthquake was an earthquake, a known phenomenon, catalogued, understood within the limits of what the Roman world knew about nature. And a volcanic eruption? They had never seen one. There was no word for it. There was nothing in Roman science that said, when the earth shakes like this, near a mountain like this, what comes next is fire. That connection did not exist. Not for the people of Pompeii, not for Pliny the Elder, who was 35 when the earthquake of 62 struck, who had almost certainly studied and documented the event, and who in 79 interpreted the new tremors exactly as everyone else did, as something familiar, as something that had happened before, as something that would pass again. The lesson Pompeii learned was not, this region is dangerous. The lesson was, we have faced the worst and survived. In the days leading up to August 79, the signs returned. The cloud. August 24th, 79 AD. Around 1 in the afternoon, intense heat. Pliny the Elder had finished bathing and was reading. His niece walks in, points to something outside. A cloud, but not an ordinary cloud. It rose from Vesuvius in the shape of a pine tree, wide at the base, spreading out at the top. White, dense, loaded with ash and pumice. Pliny the Younger saw it too. He found it interesting, but didn't want to go. He had schoolwork. Pliny the Elder looked at that cloud and felt what he always felt when facing a phenomenon he had not yet catalogued. curiosity. He ordered a light boat prepared, a fast vessel, small, to get close enough to observe, to understand. In that moment, it seemed entirely rational, a naturalist doing what naturalists do. Then, the messenger arrived. Rectina's message. He was a servant. He arrived breathless, covered in ash, a note in his hands. Rectina was a friend of Pliny's. She lived in a villa directly at the base of Vesuvius, and she could not escape. The roads were blocked by chaos. The sea was impossible. High waves, erratic winds, the coast covered in pumice raining from the sky. The note was direct. She was pleading for rescue. Pliny read it. He looked at the small boat he had ordered prepared and made a decision. He canceled the small boat. He ordered the warships launched, the quadriremes of the imperial fleet. If he was going with enough force to rescue not just Rectina, but everyone who needed help along the coast. His officers looked at him. The sky to the south was dark. Ash was falling. The wind was blowing the wrong way. Pliny boarded, dictating observations to a scribe as the ships departed. The angle of the cloud's expansion, color, density, wind direction, a naturalist at work. Every other vessel was heading the opposite way, fleeing the coast, fleeing the destruction. Pliny pressed forward. At a certain point, one of his officers approached. The route was becoming dangerous. Chunks of pumice striking the hull, ash blanketing the deck. The sea rough and unpredictable. Perhaps they should turn back. Pliny listened, and replied with the phrase Pliny the Younger recorded decades later. Fortune favors the brave, and ordered them to continue. Because he had assessed the situation. He had weighed the risks, and he had reached a conclusion. If this story is pulling you in, subscribe. There are more where this came from. The dinner. Pliny reached the coast of Stabii. Rectina could not be rescued. The sea was impossible there too, her stretch of coast unreachable. But her husband was there, in Stabii, in a panic, bags packed, ready to flee the moment the sea allowed. Pliny stepped off the ship, embraced his friend, and said, "There is no reason to be afraid." Then he asked to bathe. He bathed. He sat down to dinner. He talked. He was in good spirits, cheerful even. The people around him were terrified. The sky to the north glowed orange and red, flames visible on the slopes of Vesuvius, lighting up the dense darkness of ash that had replaced the sun. The ground shook at regular intervals. Not gentle tremors, jolts that sent objects crashing from shelves, that cracked already weakened walls. The smell of sulfur in the air, heavy, constant. Pliny explained to those present that the flames were nothing but fires in abandoned villages, nothing to fear. After dinner, he went to sleep. He snored so loudly that the servants outside could hear him. What knowledge could not save. While Pliny slept, Pompeii was dying. The city that had survived the earthquake of 62, the city that spent 17 years rebuilding. Ash and pumice rained without pause. Roofs collapsed under the weight. The streets were unrecognizable, covered, blocked, swallowed. Between 2,000 and 4,000 dead, surprisingly few for a city of 20,000 inhabitants, because when the eruption truly began, most people managed to flee. Those who died were the ones who waited too long, the ones who believed it would pass. All of this was happening while Pliny slept. That same night, a few kilometers away, in the early hours, the situation worsened. Rocks and accumulated ash had blocked the door to Pliny's room. They had to break it open from the outside to wake him. The courtyard was buried halfway up. If they stayed inside, they would be buried alive. They went out. Total darkness. Not night, ash, dense, suffocating, hot. They tied pillows to their heads with sheets to protect themselves from the constant rain of pumice. The ground was shaking without pause now, not in intervals, continuously, as if something enormous were moving beneath their feet. They reached the beach. The sea was still impossible. High waves, churning, directionless. Pliny asked to be supported. He was struggling to breathe. He sat down on a folded sail on the sand. He asked for water. He drank. He tried to stand. He couldn't. The others waited. They tried to help him, but the air was becoming unbreathable for everyone. When they found a moment the sea allowed, they boarded the boats and fled. They left Pliny on the beach, not out of cruelty, because he could not move. When they returned 2 days later, they found him exactly where he had sat, lying on the sand, intact, as if he were sleeping. No marks of violence, no signs of struggle, no expression of pain. What killed Pliny the Elder was volcanic gas. Carbon dioxide and sulfur dioxide released in lethal concentrations by the ground and the churning sea. Invisible, odorless at those concentrations. There was nothing in the Naturalis Historia about this. There was no Latin vocabulary to describe the mechanism that mountain was using to kill. The greatest naturalist of the ancient world died without understanding what was killing him. And the city he went to save also disappeared.
Look at this shell!
Pompeii was never rebuilt. There was nothing left to rebuild. The city simply vanished, buried under 4 to 6 meters of ash and pumice, forgotten. For more than 1,700 years, no one knew where it was. It was rediscovered in 1748, almost by accident, during excavations on a private estate. It is still there today, exactly as Vesuvius left it. No other city in ancient history was preserved like that, not by choice, but by the brutality of what destroyed it. And the one who survived to tell this story was his nephew, Pliny the Younger, who stayed home, who did not go, who watched Vesuvius erupt from a distance, from Misenum, 30 kilometers away. Years later, the historian Tacitus asked him to describe what had happened. Pliny the Younger wrote 2 letters, detailed, precise, moving. Those letters are the only reason we know any of this. Rectina's name, the phrase about fortune, the snoring during dinner, the folded sail on the sand. The man who spent his entire life documenting the world was documented by someone else, in the only way that mattered, by someone who chose to stay. If this story made you think about how knowledge can become a trap, you need to know another one. A man who survived the impossible, twice, in the same week. He warned them, nobody believed him. Then Nagasaki exploded. You'll find the link on screen now and in the first pinned comment. Thank you for staying until the end. If these stories resonate with you, share them with someone who would feel the same. Subscribe to the channel and leave your comment. See you in the next one.